Rob with Whole Products here. We're going to go over the check-in process now for the Mud Puppy rental returns. The first thing we want to do is make sure that this unit was the one that was rented. For checking verification of this mud system, most of these will be on a trailer. There's a VIN number on the inside of your trailer, and it will have the VIN number. This is how the Mud Puppy units are tracked from Whole Products. So that goes off the VIN number, which is on the trailer, the inside left of the trailer, and the front of that trailer. That VIN number must match the rented number. Next, of course, we want to go over the components. You want to make sure that everything that was rented is returning. We've got a Mud Puppy. We've got the full mud system. We've got a 20-foot mud hose, 30-inch mud hose. There's also a sand guzzler. Make sure that that component is there. Also, another thing that could get lost is the tank plug. Should be a tank plug on the back of that tank. Whether it's in the tank or whether it comes back with the unit separately, that's fine as long as it's returned. Also, you want to make sure that set of keys come back with it, and if a manual was rented with the Mud Puppy, make sure that comes back with it too. Quick check of the engine oil. The engine oil is on the other side of the Caterpillar engine here. Make sure that oil is checked and make sure the level is good. Depending on how long the customer rented the unit, whether that would have been changed by them or not. Next, we want to check the hours on the engine oil. I alluded that a minute ago. Just make sure that the date is on there and the hours of operation. We should be changing these out every 200 hours. Or the customer. Make sure they know that up front. Engine coolant. You can check your engine coolant. Make sure the recommended coolant from Caterpillar is installed and that the level is high. Next is the hydraulic oil. Again, we go around to the hydraulic tank. There's a visual indicator. Make sure it's between high and in the middle. Your hoses should be full of hydraulic fluid also, so this will come down a little bit, but make sure that that is not on the low side. Next, you want to put the hours, check the hours on those hydraulic filters and make sure that those did get changed out either on the last return or the customer itself changed those out. Components. I'm going to go over the shaker screens. Make sure the shaker screens are in good shape and that they're both installed. Do a visual check on those. You don't need to really get up there, but it is good to at least check and do a quick visual on those. The sander cones, you want to make sure they're all there. There are a few, 3 or 4 different components on those desander cones. Make sure they're all there and it's not leaking. Next, you go over the hydraulic hoses. The key hoses would be the sand guzzler hoses, the 3 hoses that hook up to that desander pump. Make sure they're not frayed, make sure they're not cut, weren't run over, and also make sure the hydraulic fittings on those are in good shape and not damaged. Pickup pump itself, you want to visually check it. You want to tip it over on its side. You want to visually check inside and make sure components are in good shape and that it spins freely. Okay, also you want to look down inside that tank and check for cleanliness. A lot of guys they'll leave some sand in there and they do lack on cleaning those tanks out pretty good. So it's important that we look down inside. Make sure that tank is clean and no damage inside that tank. Also, we already checked to make sure that tank plug was returned and it's in good shape. Trailer, you want to do a visual walk around that whole trailer, see if there's any bent components, any broken components. A lot of times the lights will come back damaged, or they'll come back with cut wires. It's always good to check these thoroughly, plug it into your truck, or you can even check them while the customer still got his truck right there. License plate, that's self-explanatory. Make sure what state you're in, if you have a required license plate required. The trailer frame, again, you want to make sure that the fenders aren't bent, the frame's in good shape all the way around on both sides, and that it does roll properly. Check your tires. Again, you can check that PSI on those, make sure it's 50 or close to PSI on those. Make sure there's not cut tires, punctured, and that they're in good shape. Trailer hitch, again, you want to visually check that and make sure it's not damaged. Safety chains, you can check those also. Make sure that they're in good shape. Make sure they're not cut, bent, when they're both there. And there's an electrical plug on there also. Make sure that plugs in and make sure it works. There's no cuts, abrasions on there. Also check your lights, your blinkers, hazards, brake lights. Check all those and make sure that they're in good working condition. Okay, it's important to ask the individual returning the mud system, how did it run? Did you have any issues? Was there any concerns? You know, what did you like about it? It's good for business, it's good for future rentals, and it just shows that we care about what we're renting them. So we've checked over with everything, all the components, we made sure all the components are there, but now how do we take that next step? So next we're gonna do a quick test. Obviously your renter's most likely gonna move on once we make sure there's no visual damage, but now we need to check the components inside and make sure everything's good to go for the next rental. That'll be in the testing video on the next step.